This is the Everyday AI Show, the everyday podcast where we simplify AI and bring its power to your fingertips. Listen daily for practical advice to boost your career, business, and everyday life.
ChatGPT plugins are on their way out. Tyler Perry put his new studio on hold because of AI, and Google is making just about all of the news right now. All right, this is AI news that matters. So we do this every single week. We help you keep up with what's going on in the world of generative AI and how you can use all of this information to get ahead in your company, in your career. So what's going on, y'all? My name's Jordan Wilson. I'm the host of Everyday AI. We're a daily live stream, podcast, and free daily newsletter helping everyday people like you and me not just keep up with all of this that's going on, but how we can all actually get ahead. That's what this is all about. So if you're joining us on the podcast, thank you. As always, make sure to check out your show notes, the episode description. We have a lot more information in there, as always. And if you're joining us live, thank you for joining as well. Get your questions in. What do you want to know about what's going on in the world of AI news? So like I said, we do this every single Monday because you can spend hours, literally, you can spend hours a day just going into deep dives and down rabbit holes on what's happening in AI and worrying about it and saying, oh, what should I pay attention to? Don't do that. We do that for you. And then all you got to do is show up here on Mondays, and we're going to tell you what's what. And also in the newsletter. So if you haven't already, make sure to go to youreverydayai.com and sign up for that free daily newsletter, right? We're going to be recapping all of these stories and more, some other fresh finds from across the web, some even newer AI news than this. So this is a little bit of a deeper dive into what matters for you. So thanks for everyone joining us. Rodriguez joining us from DC, and Tara joining us from Nashville. Jay joining us from Grand Rapids, Michigan. Thank you all for joining us. Let me know. What do you want to know about what's going on in the AI news this week? So, hey, if you do want to keep up, FYI, our website is a free generative AI university. It is. There's now more than 200 live stream videos you can watch, 200 podcast episodes you can go listen to whenever you want, 200 email newsletters you can go back and read, written by me, a human, right? There's so much great information there, and you can go sort it by what you care about. So if you want to know about AI in sales or AI in entrepreneurship or ChatGPT or whatever it is that you care about, you can just go click there and just literally get up to speed as quickly as humanly possible. All right. So let's go over what you should be paying attention to in the AI news this week for the week of February 26th. All right. Well, 25th, 26th, right? Depends on if you're starting your day on Sunday or Monday. So here's the big one, y'all. And I'm interested to hear what y'all think of this one. But Tyler Perry is holding off on an $800 million studio expansion because of AI. All right. So TV and movie mogul Tyler Perry has halted the expansion of his studio complex due to concerns about the potential impact of AI tools like OpenAI's video generating tool Sora on the entertainment industry. So Tyler Perry did say that he believes that AI tools like Sora could lead to job losses and calls for regulation to protect the livelihoods of those working in the industry. So we've been saying this for now like a year or more, right? That AI video is going to be extremely disruptive in 2023. So this is pretty big news, y'all. Like, if you don't know anything about Tyler Perry, he is one of the most well-known people in entertainment in the movie industry. His studios, Tyler Perry's studios in Atlanta, I believe, is still the largest single studio in the United States, right? So here you have one of the most important and prominent figures in the entertainment industry, in video production, coming out and saying this OpenAI Sora was, number one, the quality was amazing, right? And that immediately Tyler Perry said this could be a problem, right? He had plans to expand his studio with a nearly $1 billion capital investment, so $800 million. He saw what was happening with AI and AI video, and he said, nope, not expanding right now because the quality here is outstanding, right? And the potential for job loss, especially in that industry, is huge. Is huge, right? So make sure to check out about this one in today's newsletter because I believe there was a story that said just in the state of California, all right, just in the state of California, they're expecting AI to impact 62,000 jobs in the entertainment industry. I actually think it's going to be a lot more than that. But if you didn't already see OpenAI's Sora, we did a whole episode last week. All right, so I'll make sure to leave that in the podcast description and in the show notes. But the quality of OpenAI's Sora is like nothing we've seen, right? If you go back to the days of the original AI video, there's a very famous or infamous video of Will Smith eating spaghetti, right? And it was pretty bad, right? But it was one of the first kind of AI videos that, took the internet by storm, mainly because of how bad it was, right? It's like Will Smith was morphing into spaghetti. The spaghetti was kind of eating him. He was shape shifting every second. So it was pretty bad, right? With OpenAI's Sora, which is not publicly available yet, that's important to talk about. Right now, it's just red teamers have access. So kind of like an internal group that's checking Sora for safety, and a select group of kind of designers and artists have access to Sora. But if you're joining on the live stream right here, I just have a pretty simple left to right comparison. We did a little comparison video when Sora was first announced. So OpenAI released both the videos and the prompts that they used. And at that time, we grabbed a handful of those examples, downloaded them, and then ran those same prompts through what I think is still, to this day, the leading AI video platform that's available to everyone, right? Which is Runway. So Runway Gen 2. And you'll see here, it was a woolly mammoth example. So kind of a group of woolly mammoths walking through the snow, right? So on the left here, we have the Sora example, which looks strikingly real, right? And then on the right, you have the Runway Gen 2. So again, Runway is the best one that you can, if anyone listening out here today wants to put in a text prompt and create video, Runway is the best one publicly available. But presumably, once Sora is publicly available, I'm finding it hard for any reason to use any other product, right? Sora is reportedly allows you to create 1 minute of AI video, whereas most other kind of generative AI text to video or photo to video platforms give you about 4 to 16 seconds, depending on which way you slice it, right? But there's no comparison, right? The comparison on the right with Runway, I mean, it looks okay, right? But one of the woolly mammoths is kind of missing a tail. If you watch it live, they kind of morph a little bit, right? Tyler Perry is very smart here, right? I always tell people, right? Like, look at the money. Look where the money is going. Look where the money's not going. If you want to know about how AI is impacting, a certain industry, a certain field, maybe where your career or your company is headed, look where the money's going, right? What are the big tech companies doing? Are they investing more people in these areas? Are they investing more money? Well, here you go. I'd say is one of the most prominent figures in video and in entertainment. Tyler Perry specifically saw Sora and said, oh, no, hit and pause on this nearly $1 billion expansion because of how good Sora is. And right away, without, presumably Tyler Perry hasn't used it. He just, according to all these reports, saw the quality and said, oh, this is going to be bad for the entertainment industry from a jobs perspective, right? It will allow smaller creators to create much higher quality visuals, much better stories, right? So yes, there will be some, new studios that will pop up that didn't exist before. I get that, but right with a single text prompt, right? And again, we'll share examples of this in the newsletter if you haven't seen anything. But Sora with a single text prompt can create something that would have probably taken, a team of maybe 20, 30, 40 people and multi-millions of dollars, right? I'm not kidding. There is one example in particular that I'll make sure that we share. It was kind of a desert scene, and kind of like some astronaut looking people, but it's like, man, you got to fly a big crew to some remote place, right? You got to have expensive cameras. You got to have a whole production crew, right? And a simple text prompt in Sora did this all, right? And actually, Sora, I think, is about much more than AI video. Although, Tyler Perry here is recognizing it in this piece of news, is recognizing the great impact that it's going to have in the video, in the entertainment industry. But it's actually about AGI. It is. I did a whole episode on that, so I'm not going to talk about that now. But I'll let you know this. It's not just Tyler Perry, right? This is happening across the industry. All right. So 11 Labs, as an example, joined Disney's accelerator program. All right. So yeah, Disney is investing very heavily in AI. Similarly, Disney just announced their 2024 Disney Accelerator program, right? So each year they bring some kind of small companies that they see making big impacts in the movie and entertainment industry. They bring them kind of in this accelerator program, bring them under the Disney wing, teach them things, invest in them, etc. So out of the 5 companies that were in the Disney Accelerator program this year, three are just AI companies, right? So Audio Shake, I think that one is Promethean AI, and 11 Labs. So huge implications. And 11 Labs, y'all, 11 Labs is amazing. It's so good. So a text to speech platform, very realistic. And a lot of people are, similarly how Tyler Perry saw Sora and said, oh, this is going to impact our industry. A lot of people are saying that about text to speech and these platforms like 11 Labs that, you can type in a text prompt and you can hear the quality of the output. It sounds human, right? That's the thing. That's the thing right now. If you don't follow this on a daily or weekly basis, you might remember those things like Will Smith's, eating spaghetti AI videos, or you might, have heard an AI generated voice a couple months ago, and you're like, no, Jordan, you're crazy. You don't know what you're talking about. Will Smith can't even eat spaghetti in AI, and these AI voices are so robotic. Nope, they're not. You cannot tell the difference right now between, I think, Sora AI, like Sora's AI video, and real video produced from humans, right? If we're talking about basic shots, right? Quick edits, you can't tell the difference. Same thing with AI voices. You can't. Text to speech is getting so good over the last couple of months. Even this example of 11 Labs, they've updated their model, and you won't believe your ears. All right, enough on that. Our next piece of AI news that matters. And hey, this really matters if you listen to the show, if you're a huge ChatGPT fan. ChatGPT is killing plugins. Yes, we've known about this for a while, and we've talked about it here on the show for a while. But up until Friday, right, up until a couple days ago, it was more of just a well-believed rumor, right? But there was no hard data. But OpenAI did officially announce the phasing out or the killing of ChatGPT plugins. All right, so here's exactly what that means. So kind of OpenAI is pushing GPTs, right? Which is great. GPTs are cool. If you don't know what GPTs are, they're just kind of, I would say, custom versions of ChatGPT that anyone can make. It's no code or low code, depending on how you build it. But even if you're not a big techie, you can go create a slightly customized version of ChatGPT based on your data. You can upload, maybe documents about yourself or your company in a knowledge base. You can tweak it. You can go and configure it just with text. Pretty cool, right? So OpenAI is phasing out plugins, and they're going to be officially gone here in a couple of weeks. So here's the dates that you need to know. So if you are using ChatGPT plugins, if they have become an integral part of your workflow, maybe if you've taken our free Prime Prompt Polish course, you've been laughing your way to the bank because you've been creating plugin packs, which is something we love. More on that here in a second. But we have end dates ready. So March 19th is the last day that you can create a new chat with plugins. Okay, so right now plugins is its own dedicated mode. So, when you launch into ChatGPT and you have to have ChatGPT Plus to use both plugins or GPTs, which is $20 a month. So now if you go in there, you can still create new chats with plugins, but only until March 19th. All right. And then your existing chats that use plugins, they will work until April 9th. So again, March 19th is the last day that you can create new chats with plugins inside of ChatGPT. And April 9th is the last day that you can use your current chats with plugins. So kind of a big bummer, even what we do here at Everyday AI, we have different, what we call plugin packs, right? So we teach Prime Prompt Polish, which is creating expert chats inside of ChatGPT. And many times those expert chats for us, and I'm hoping for many of you out there have taken advantage of this over the last year, works with 3 plugins. So here's at least in the short term what that means. I think it means a huge loss of business productivity in the short term, right? Without going into too much details, right now, plugins can work sort of autonomously, right? So you can have any 3 plugins in a new chat inside of ChatGPT. You can train them and then, put in, as an example, 1 text prompt. And then you can essentially tell those 3 plugins to work with each other, right? So you could have one plugin that scrapes a website. You could have another plugin that from that information from a scraped website creates a PowerPoint presentation. And then you could have Zapier enabled. And you can, in one command, you can have these 3 plugins working with each other autonomously, right? Which is pretty amazing. You cannot do that right now with GPTs. So that's the big thing that people aren't seeing, at least in the short term. This is a huge step backwards for business productivity, especially for those of you out there that have become really great at using plugins, right? So right now you can only work with 1 GPT at a time. So yes, you can mention any GPT, right? So in theory, you could create a new chat with 50 GPTs, but you can only work with 1 at a time as it stands now. As we all know, OpenAI is working heavily on AI agents and AI assistants. So presumably that's going to change, hopefully sometime in the near future, but at least a huge step backwards for business productivity, at least in the short term. Again, tomorrow, OpenAI might change this and might allow you to work with multiple GPTs within the same prompt. But right now you can't. So keep that in mind. And also check out the newsletter. We're going to have a lot more on that one.
Are you still running in circles trying to figure out how to actually grow your business with AI? Maybe your company has been tinkering with large language models for a year or more, but can't really get traction to find ROI on Gen AI. Hey, this is Jordan Wilson, host of this very podcast. Companies like Adobe, Microsoft, and NVIDIA have partnered with us because they trust our expertise in educating the masses around generative AI to get ahead. And some of the most innovative companies in the country hire us to help with their AI strategy and to train hundreds of their employees on how to use Gen AI. So whether you're looking for ChatGPT training for thousands or just need help building your front-end AI strategy, you can partner with us too, just like some of the biggest companies in the world do. Go to youreverydayai.com/partner to get in contact with our team, or you can just click on the partner section of our website. We'll help you stop running in those AI circles and help get your team ahead and build a straight path to ROI on Gen AI.
All right. And hey, thank you for all your questions. I'm gonna try to get to them. So if you do have questions like Douglas here saying, what will the PPP Pro look like without plugins? Hey, great question, Douglas. Well, yeah, we're rebuilding. We're actually rebuilding all of our Prime Prompt Polish courses from scratch. We're having to redo them all, which is okay, right? But hey, if you're one of the 2,400 business leaders that have taken our free Prime Prompt Polish program, you might want to sign up again. All right. So we're going to have a lot of new dates out there in April. So we're essentially going to take a month off of our free training because we got to rebuild it from scratch. All right. But yeah, Douglas, that's what the PPP Pro is going to look like without plugins, is we're going to have to rebuild it. But that's okay. We always keep things up to date. All right. Next piece of AI news. Another big one here. So the mystery company signing a $60 million AI content licensing deal with Reddit has been revealed, and it's Google. All right, so we've talked about this on the show last week and in the newsletter, but it had been reported and we had talked about that there is a mystery company signing a $60 million annual deal with Reddit. All right, so here's what this means. So Google and Reddit have struck a $60 million data sharing deal, which allows Google to use Reddit posts for training its AI models. So it's, Gemini AI model, and to improve Google search. All right. So this deal allows Google to use Reddit posts to train its AI models and improve those services. And then Reddit will have access to Google's AI models to improve its internal site search. All right. So there's some wins for both parties here. But this deal is significant for both companies and sets a precedent for obtaining data for AI models. And this comes right as Reddit files for its IPO, so its initial public offering. So Reddit is going public. So a great kind of timely piece of news here for Reddit and Google. But also Google is facing a lot of criticisms for its AI chatbot, Gemini. And we're going to talk about that here in a second. So I'd say it's a big win. Big win for both companies. But I'd say, actually, y'all, I think it might be a bigger win for Google, if I'm being honest. Right? It's timely for Reddit. It's very timely to get a 60 million annual partnership with Google. Right? Literally, this is within a day of announcing that Reddit is going public. Now, let me try to zoom out a little bit and tell you why this is important, specifically for generative AI and for large language models. So if you haven't noticed, over the last couple of years, internet search is getting terrible, right? And actually, Reddit has turned into a search engine of types, right? So a lot of people either are skipping, using Google, or skipping using Bing and just going straight to Reddit. Or when they are searching for something on the internet, Reddit is often one of the first websites that pops up. It's actually outranking, which I know is weird. It's outranking Google a lot. It's outranking Microsoft a lot, right? Because what the algorithm has taught us is that people are finding answers on Reddit to their queries, right? So they're not necessarily finding answers when they go on other websites, right? Because internet browsing, and I've talked about this, we had a whole show on this, especially with AI chatbots, current day internet browsing has become unbearable because internet publishers are losing so much revenue from now getting way fewer clicks because of people are getting those answers in AI chatbots, or maybe they're getting them in Reddit. So generally now, internet use, like using the internet to find information, is becoming unbearable. The amount of ads that pop up or take up the full screen, or the amount of like actual helpful content and its real estate on the screen is shrinking. So this is actually really worth paying attention to. And I think here's what's going to happen. Well, number one, I think Google got a steal. You might look at that and say $60 million for data. That's a lot, right? I don't think it is. I think it's a bargain, right? For the amount of data that Reddit has, the amount of helpful data that will help Google Gemini provide better answers, it cannot be understated. That's huge, right? And I've been using Google Gemini since the new Ultra 1.0 update came out. Most people don't have access to the new Ultra 1.5, but hey, I've been using Gemini since the paid version came out earlier this month. And if I'm being honest, it's not good. I don't like it. I don't, aside from, using it to recap YouTube videos, which you can only do, FYI, you can only do with your personal Gmail, right? Or, because even if you're using your workspace account, so if you're like me and if you use Google Workspace for, as an example, your work email, your work calendar, your work Google Drive, even if you are using the enterprise version of Gemini on your work account, you don't have access to all of that data within Gemini. We don't. I'm paying $36 a month for the Gemini Enterprise product, and it still can't speak with my work data. So if you're using a personal Gmail account, at least, Gemini is good for a couple of things, but not a lot. So I do think this is big news. I think it's going to push Gemini forward, but I also think it's going to signal. Here's the reality. Almost all large language models have used data from Reddit to build their current models. So what happens now? right? Are we going to see more and more partnerships like this? Is there a little exclusivity in this Google and Reddit agreement? Will that change a little bit? Again, this is initial reporting, so we have to wait and see. But presumably, what's either going to happen is, Reddit is going to be able to get even larger deals with the Anthropics and the OpenAIs of the world, or we're going to see big lawsuits because it is so difficult and so expensive to untrain models, especially off a source like Reddit. All right. So like go, go use, ChatGPT or Anthropic's Claude and search for things that would probably only you could find on Reddit. Find like certain details, and you'll see that these models have gobbled up again, for the most part, large language models are trained on the history of the open internet and more, right? Which includes Reddit. So it's interesting to see what's going to happen. Is Reddit going to be striking a ton of these large content partnership deals? Will there be some heavy exclusivity enforced in this Google Reddit partnership? I'm not sure, but we're probably going to find out over the next week or two, but it's going to be interesting. All right. Yeah. Tanya here asking, I wonder how much it costs to build Reddit. Probably less than other companies. I'm not sure, Tanya. We can probably figure that out. But presumably a little cheaper, right? Because if you don't know Reddit, it is user generated, right? The overwhelming majority of everything on Reddit is individuals. It is, for the most part, I mean, yeah, there's a lot of garbage on Reddit, right? A lot of misinformation, disinformation, but for the most part, there's a ton of very high quality information on Reddit generated by users. So presumably, it is much cheaper for Reddit to operate than maybe a large, news organization or a large, company like an Anthropic or an OpenAI, just because it is end users who are not being paid, who are going in and they are actually, in theory now training Reddit and training Google Gemini, in theory to be smarter. And this signals a much deeper conversation that we'll probably save for another, hot take Tuesday on what it means for data, right? Now you see universities selling, right? Literally like it's an open market, like it's a bidding war, literally marketing student data and, large research study data to these companies, to the Googles and the OpenAIs and the Microsofts of the world and the Anthropics of the world. They're out there selling data. They're collecting and harvesting as much high quality original data as possible and selling it to the highest bidder, right? I'm not saying that's what Reddit's doing, but you're seeing this at very well established universities. So it's interesting to see how this is all going to pan out. All right, we got a lot of Google news. All right, let's get to it as we continue to go over the AI news that matters. So, Google has temporarily shut down its AI image generator called Imagine 2. All right, so Google has paused its Gemini AI tool from generating images of humans after receiving backlash for creating stereotypical images of Black founding founders, a female pope, etc., or even, gay couples when asking it to generate pictures of straight couples. All right, so you've probably seen this a lot on the news, but this highlights kind of ongoing struggles in the AI industry to avoid bias, but to also be more inclusive, right? We've talked about this on the Everyday AI show a lot, right? So if a lot of AI image generating models, if you ask for, this, say, hey, generate an image of a powerful CEO of a tech company, right? And almost every single time it's going to generate a white male, right? Which is not good. That's a bias and that's a stereotype. So, what we found with Google Gemini's AI Imagine 2 was kind of the opposite, right? It was actually, being historically inaccurate. There's a lot of examples here, but this example that I'm showing here on the live stream is from CNN Business. So this example that someone on CNN Business shared, it said, "Hi Gemini, can you produce for me a picture of a pope?" And then Gemini produces a picture of a pope And obviously, every single pope that has existed in history is a white man. And then Google Gemini, just depicted two different people that are not white. One woman, one man who are not white. So this is a tough conversation, and I don't have the right answers for this, right? Because how do you find the middle ground, right? We don't have it right now, right? So I think with with Google Gemini's Imagine, the problem is it was historically inaccurate, but it was more inclusive. But at the same time, if you use like Midjourney, like I said, we've talked about this on the show. We've showed examples of this on the show. It is, so much of everything that you ask it to produce is, white males, which isn't good. So I don't know how this is going to pan out, but what we do know right now is you can no longer, at least as of late last night, you can no longer use Google Gemini's Imagine, so it's AI image generator, to produce pictures of people. So they've currently paused this capability. So it's not all the Google news. All right. So there is a new Google model. Yes, another Google model. This is a little confusing, but I'm going to do my best to explain it. So Google has announced another large language model. This time it's a lightweight open model named Gemma. All right, so Google has introduced Gemma. It's a family of lightweight, state-of-the-art open models inspired by Gemini, and it is designed for responsible AI development. All right, so right now, Gemma kind of is released, or it comes in two flavors. So there is the 2B and the 7B variations. So, that's billions of parameters. So it's the Gemma 2 billion and the Gemma 7 billion, and each are kind of come pre-trained and instruction tuned. So there's a lot of confusion over what this new Gemma is. All right. And again, if you haven't read a lot about it, that's why we do this every week. You don't got to spend hours every day trying to keep up. Tune in every Monday. We'll tell you what's what, and then read our newsletter today as well. All right. But here's essentially now what we got going on with Google and all of its models, because there's a lot of confusion on the internet of what Gemma is, and especially when Google keeps changing its Gemini models names, right? So we talked about this before. Previously, when Google just released Gemini, you could go in, if you had the paid version, it was $20 a month, and you would use what was called Gemini Advanced, and then you could toggle between Gemini Ultra and Gemini Pro. All right, so that kind of made sense. But now if you're using the enterprise version, there's just Gemini. And it's like, oh, where's Gemini Pro? Where's Gemini Ultra? Which one am I using? I have no clue. And I think most people don't. But I can at least try to explain all the different models, because right now with Gemini, Google has 3 different models. So they have Gemini Ultra, Gemini Pro, and Gemini Nano. All right. So Gemini Ultra and Gemini Pro are the 2 models powering their Gemini chatbot. All right. And then, so if you're using the free version, presumably it used to tell you, it doesn't anymore, but presumably you are using Gemini Pro. All right. So if you're using the free version of Gemini, you're presumably using Gemini Pro. It used to tell you, it doesn't anymore. If you're using a paid version, so with Gemini Advanced or with Gemini Enterprise or Gemini Business, you are presumably using Gemini Ultra 1.0. Eventually, you'll probably be using Gemini Ultra 1.5. Again, Google's not telling us. But so if you're using Gemini, you're probably using Pro or Ultra. All right, so Gemini Nano is its edge AI model. So what that means, it is an on-device, right? So think the new Samsung S24 phone has the Gemini Nano model. So it's a smaller version of Gemini that lives on devices, and it's kind of fine-tuned for those specific purposes to accomplish things on a device. And kind of the big deal about that is it makes it faster, right? Because right now, if you're using Gemini Pro or Ultra via the Gemini AI chatbot, it's cloud computing. It's resource heavy. It's quick, but it's not super fast, right? But when you're using Gemini Nano on your smartphone, if you have the new Samsung Galaxy S24, it's using it locally, which means it's very fast and it's very secure. All right. So now let's try to keep up, because Gemma, the new model, is none of those. All right. So it's essentially a much, 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 much smaller version of Gemini, but it is made to be downloaded. It is made for developers. It is made to be a local version of Gemini because right now, if you want to use Gemini, you can really only use it cloud-based, right? With Gemini Pro and Gemini Ultra. Both of those two Gemini variations are too big. You can't run those locally. All right. So that's the difference here with the Gemma model. It is lightweight. It is much smaller at 2 billion and 7 billion parameters. So you can download this and you can run it locally on your desktop. And you can also run it on Google Cloud and Hugging Face. All right. So a lot going on there. A lot going on there with Google. So much. And oh man, this week, I don't know about you guys, right? And I'm going to get to your questions as we wrap up here, or you can let me know what you think is the biggest piece of AI news. Or if you're not joining us live, don't worry. You can always reach out. I put my email, I put my LinkedIn URL in every single episode show notes. So go check out the show description. Hit me an email. Let me know what you think. Let me know what what you think is the most impactful story this week. So let me get to a couple comments and questions here as we wrap up. So Cecilia was asking, what's the best text-to-speech AI? Great question, Cecilia. So yeah, like we were talking about earlier, we said 11 Labs was entering Disney's AI accelerator program. And we are talking about, the big news of Tyler Perry halting his $800 million expansion. And Disney, I said, is investing heavily into these AI startups as well, with 11 Labs, the text-to-speech platform, joining the Disney accelerator. Cecilia, I'll say right there, 11 Labs. There's a lot. Well Said Labs is good. Google, Amazon, OpenAI, they're all working on their own text-to-speech models, none of which their current models are publicly available, or their newest, most advanced models are publicly available. So if you need a text-to-speech model today to go work on something, I would say it's 11 Labs. All right, Justin, I love this. Justin says, does this mean generative AI Medea, right? So that's Tyler Perry's franchises. Yeah, he has so many different movies under his belt. I mean, who knows, right? I don't know. Because here's the other thing. OpenAI Sora, again, if you haven't watched it, make sure to check out the newsletter. We're going to be dropping some different examples. Here's the thing. I don't know if it's going to be able to produce copyrighted content. Right now, it's the big gray area in the room, or the big elephant in the room is, hey, all these models can produce copyrighted content, right? If you use AI image generators, even if you're not trying to produce copyrighted content. I did this on the show before. I did it live, right? We were using Midjourney, and I said, give me a superhero, and it spit out copyrighted materials. It spit out Marvel, right? So I don't know if these future models like Sora will be able to produce, Medea. I don't know. I don't know. Presumably, it's going to happen, I would assume, right? At least in the samples that people have been releasing out of Sora, I'm not seeing any overly flagrant copyrighted materials coming out. But again, this is a very kind of closed access right now, and everything, presumably everything that's being released from these kind of red teamers who are testing Sora for safety, and the select group of AI artists and designers that have access to this. I assume that there's a pretty strict policy on how they are producing content and what they can and can't release. So I'm not sure, but presumably, yeah, we're going to see some AI, some AI movies that probably contain some type of copyrighted materials. All right. That is it, y'all. We got to the AI news that matters, but that's not all. There's obviously a lot more. This is just what we're the tip of the iceberg that we're getting to today. So thank you for joining us. I appreciate it. But let's talk about a couple things that are happening. Well, number one, was this helpful? Is the AI news that matters helpful for you? Let me know in the comments, or just send me an email. Let me know if this is helpful for you. But if it is helpful, please consider sharing this. share this episode with your friends, share Everyday AI with your colleagues, or maybe just repost this episode, right? So if you're listening here on LinkedIn, it takes us sometimes, 10 to 20 hours to put single episodes together. We'd appreciate it if you took 10 to 20 seconds to share this with your network to keep them up to speed. That would be great. All right. And as a reminder, go to youreverydayai.com and sign up for the free daily newsletter because, like I said, we have a lot more in today's newsletter and with the AI news that matters. All right, a couple things I got to shout out. So normally we do Hot Take Tuesdays. We're going to have a guest tomorrow, but we're still going to keep it a little hot. So we have Thibaut, the CTO from Taplio, going to be coming on and talking about how to stand out in a world where everyone can create an AI startup. This one I'm very excited for. Thibaut is a very, very talented startup founder who's created multiple very successful products. So I'm excited about that because, we've talked about on the show here many times, like it's so easy now to just sprinkle AI into something. So we're going to be talking about what it means to actually stand out with AI. And then Wednesday, this is going to be, I think, one of our biggest shows ever. I spent like the majority of my weekend putting this show together. I'm not even done. We're going to continue. So make sure to join us Wednesday on the 7 steps on how to actually use ChatGPT in 2024. I'll make sure to put the link in the show notes. All right. But this is actually, it was our most popular podcast ever, was how to actually use ChatGPT. The problem is that podcast was from like May. So it's like 9 months old. So a lot of people are still listening to it and so much of it is outdated. So been spending so much time to update that. So if you want to know how to properly use ChatGPT to grow your company, to grow your career, even if you're brand new to ChatGPT, this show is for you. If you're using ChatGPT hourly, this show is for you. So we're going to cover everything from beginner and kind of the 101 to some very advanced techniques. So this show's for everyone. Please join us Wednesday and please join us every day. Thank you for tuning in. And we hope to see you back tomorrow and every day for more Everyday AI. Thanks, y'all.
And that's a wrap for today's edition of Everyday AI. Thanks for joining us. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe and leave us a rating. It helps keep us going. For a little more AI magic, visit youreverydayai.com and sign up to our daily newsletter so you don't get left behind. Go break some barriers, and we'll see you next time.